Yeah. I'm pleased for you.
And German is a bit similar to Yiddish, so well, just a bit similar.
Is Schweizerdeutsch more similar?
In some senses, it's more similar. In some senses, less similar. Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay. I read ones that the language spoken in the Netherlands and Yiddish and Swiss German all started round about the 12th century, and they're all derived from German. So it makes sense that there's kind of a connection.
Yeah.
But there's different kinds of Yiddish, aren't there?
There's still lots of research being done in regards to Yiddish.
Yeah, and isn't that a good thing? That's great.
Yes, it is.
Hi, Judy.
Hi, Judy. Hi, Leah. Leah is also with us today. I think we're going to start. This week is Parashat Behalotcha. And the parasha starts with lighting the candles. The words used in the verse is Behalotcha et hanerot. Behalotcha, in this sense, is kind of referring to lighting the candles, but it doesn't use the word like we know, like we say lahadlik ner Chanukah, like lighting the candle. So Behalotcha, translated into, let's say, modern Hebrew would be bringing up the candles. וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל אהרון ואמרת אליו בעלותך את הנרות. And God spoke to Moses saying, talk to Aaron and tell him the translation here is kindle the lamps, but it's like bringing up or lighting the menorah. רבי יהודה פתח והוא כחתן יוצא מחופתו. This is a verse that we have in Tehillim. Rabbi Yehuda opened the discussion saying, which is like a groom coming out of his chuppah, of his chamber. Zaka'a chulake hon di Yisrael de kutsha berichu itrei bohon v'yahav lohon oraita dikshot ilana de chaye devei barnash yarit chayin lahai alma v'chayin la'alma da'atei. Praised is the lot of Israel, the portion of Israel, that the Holy One, blessed be He, favored them and granted them the Torah of truth, a tree of life by which a person inherits life for this world and life for the world to come. Now, this is something we have generally in rabbinical literature, that we have a verse, and then we have something that one of the rabbis say, this is like whatever, even though it seems totally non-connected. Sometimes you could see the connection later in the text, sometimes not. But this is like the way he is trying to interpret the text. Whoever tries to learn Torah and holds to her has life. וכל מן דשביק מילי דאורייתא ויתפרש מאורייתא כאילו מתפרש מחיין בגין דהי חיין וכל מילו חיין הדאוד הכתיב כי חיים הם וכתיב רפאות תהי לשעריך. Whoever leaves the words of Torah and separates from the Torah is as if he took leave of life, since she, the Torah, is life, and all her words are life, as it is written, for they are life, in Mishlei, and I shall be health to your navel, which is also in Mishlei. Torah is feminine, of course. And basically what the text here is saying, he's making a certain connection between what we have in the verse about lighting the menorah and connecting this mystical sense of light in the Torah with what we have in the parasha from the menorah. Ta chazi. Ilana de chaya achid me'ela letata. Come and behold. The tree of life is attached from above downward. We're getting now into a very imageful way of seeing the menorah and connecting it somehow to the light of Torah. והי שימשה דנהר לכל הנהורה דילי שערי מרשע והתפשט בגופה דאילנה באורך משער בית סטרין אחידה בי אחד לצפון ואחד לדרום. The light of this sun that shines upon all begins from the top and spreads to the trunk of the tree in a straight path. Okay, so we have to imagine a light coming from the top and spreading to the center of the tree in a straight path. Chad yemina v'chad smola. Two sides are attached to it. One on, this is further. No, we see this already. Two sides are attached to it, one on the north and one on the south, one right and one left. Bishata de shimsha nahir kemad itmar mahu gufa de ilana atkif lideroa de yemina vanhir betukpei utukpei nahir smala vitkalel ben horei. So we have the light of the sun beginning from the top, spreads to the trunk of the tree in a straight path. And we have two sides attached to it, right? Both sides of the menorah, one in the north and one in the south. One is right, one is left. When the sun illuminates from the trunk of the tree, as we have learned, it strengthens the right arm and shines with force from that force of the right. The left illuminates and is included in its light. So we had last week we discussed we had two concepts. We had chesed and we had gvura. Chesed is mercy. Gvura is strength, or I wouldn't say punishment, but more in a sense of disciplinary. Right? We have this in rabbinical literature that the right should bring people closer, and the left should keep a distance, like be strict, more like pushing away. So when the light comes down from the top to the center, it goes first to the right side, and then the left kind of gets included in the right. Because what we want to have in a, let's say, temple-like lighting, we have the most ultimate situation where it could be in. The most as it should be state. And in that state, the powers and the light from the right side take over the powers from the left side and include it in them. Right? We have often right being negative, right being positive, and left being negative. But here, this is something that we have in Kabbalistic texts often, that we don't really have like only positive and negative. We have different forces within the greater force that are forming this ultimate being or state. So this is how they are explaining the way the menorah is built in the temple. Yeah, we all know the menorah in the temple is different than the Chanukiah that we have. The menorah in the temple had 7, and the Chanukiah has 8 or 9. And now he tries to elaborate on what was it that he said in the beginning, that it is which it is like a groom coming out of his chuppah. Vehu kechatan yotze mechupato, man iu chupato. Which is like a groom coming out of his chuppah. What is his chuppah? Da iu atara she'itra lo imo biyom chaturato. That is the crown with which his mother crowned him on the day of his wedding. This is something that we have in Shir HaShirim as a verse. Yotze mechupato, coming out of the chuppah, coming out of the chamber. Da iu reisha dechol nehora kedain bakra da batrei. מקצה השמיים מוצאו, דה שירותא דחולה, יקרא מקצה השמיים, וכדי נפיק כחתן ממש, כד נפיק להרעה, לקלתי, רחימתא דנפשו, ופריס דרועו ומקבל לה. Now we're going back to what we said before about the light coming from the top. That is the top of all light. As it says in Tehillim, he's going forth from the end of heaven. This is the beginning of everything that is referred to as the end of heaven. Then he emerges like a real groom when he goes out to meet his soul beloved bride. He stretches out his arms and receives her. So we're still trying to, what the text is still trying to do is making this connection between the groom and the menorah that we had in the first passage. כהי גבנה והוא כחתן יוצא מחופתו, אז לשמשה והתפשט לגבי מערב, כיוון דמערב התקריב, סתר צפון התראה לקבלי בקדמתי, וקריב למערב, וזוויג לי באתרי, כמה דהתמיר דכתיב, שמאלו תחת ראשי. Similar is the verse, which is like a groom coming out of his chuppah. The sun continues to spread to the west. As soon as the west gets nearer, the north side is the first to be aroused toward it, toward the sun, and approaches to the west. It joins it at that place. As it is written, his left hand under my head. Following ולבתר סתר דרום דאיר ימינה דכתיב וימינו תחבקני, כדן יסיס כגיבור לרוץ אורח, להנרה, שערה ועוקמוע, תחזי, בעלותך תנרות אילן, בוצינן אילאים דכולהו נהירין כחדה מן שמשה. Following that is the south side, which is right, as it is written, and his right hand embraces me. Then it rejoices like a strong man to run a race, to eliminate the moon. And this has been explained. Come and behold, when you light the candles, these are the loftiest candles, which all shine brightly in unison from the sun. So the text here is also trying to compare something that we know from we are studying now the beginning of Parashat Behalotcha. Do you have a Zohar, Agnieszka?
Excuse me, I just missed the link. I would like to read with you, but the link is gone.
We don't have a link because this text is not translated.
Ah, sorry. Yeah.
You could find it on.
Eva,
Yes.
Safaria, which number is it? I have the Safaria now open.
You can find it on Safaria, but I don't think that this is translated on Safaria.
Where would I find it? If
Let me take a look. Let me see what we have here. So we're looking at Bamidbar now. So this is Behalotcha. It should be this one, yes. I'll post it in our chat, but it is not translated yet.
Oh, thank you.
So we just read number 7. No, we just read number 8, I think. And we just read number 8, and now we're reading number 9.
Okay. Thank you.
Rabbi Abba Patach. I see that it's a bit different divided here. Yeah, so by me it's a bit different divided. So we're continuing now by number 9. Rabbi Abba Patach, Ashrei ha'am yodei tiroa, Adonai ba'or panecha yalichum. This is also a verse from Tehillim. Rabbi Abba opened the discussion saying, so we had the ending of the previous discussion, which was trying to explain the design of the menorah in the Mishkan in the sense of mystical forces of right and left and light coming from the top and entering to the center, and then how it's divided with the right side being stronger and the right side taking over or including the left side within it. Now we're opening a different topic. Rabbi Abba opened the discussion saying, happy is the people that know the joyful note. They shall walk O God, in the light of your countenance. The word panecha is actually the face, or in the light of the face of God. Hai kera ukmua. This verse has to be explained. אבל תחזי. זכאין אינון ישראל דקודשא בריחו יהב לון אורייתא קדישא ואוליף לון אורחוי התאבקה בי ולמיתר פיקודי דאורייתא למזכי בהו דעלמא דעתי. This verse has to be explained. However, come and behold. Praised are the people of Israel, or praised are Israel, to whom the Holy One, blessed be He, gave the Holy Torah and taught His ways, to adhere to Him and keep the commandments of the Torah in order to achieve merit through them in the world to come. וקריב להו בשעתא דנפקו ממצרים, דהה כדין אפיק לון מרשותה אחרה, וסליק לון דתאחדה בשמי, וכדין יקרון בני ישראל בני חורין מקולה. דלא יתבו תחות רשות האחרא, וסליק לון לאחתא בשמי, דסליק על קולה, דשליט על עילאין ותתאין. And he drew them near when they came out from Egypt, since he withdrew them from another denomination and raised them to unite with his name. This is something that we have often in Kabbalistic texts in general, is the sense of Egypt not only being a geographical place, but rather here it's translated with another denomination, or something that is a different state, a state of mind. Only then Israel were called free men in every respect, in that they no longer sojourned under someone else's authority. He raised them to unite with his name, which is loftier above all and has domination over the highest and the lowest. So this connects to the previous chapter that we had in the beginning, saying how the light is actually something connecting to the light of the Torah. ומיגוי רחימונה דלהון קרא לון בני בכורי ישראל כגבנה אילאה. In his love for them, he called them, Israel is my son, my firstborn, that we have in Shemot. Similar to above. וקטל כל בכור דלעילה ותתא, ושרה כתירן ואיסרין דאילאין ותתאין, בגין לאפקה לון ואבד לון בני חורין מקולה. He killed all the firstborn above and below, and he loosened and united the knots and shackles in order to take them out. He made them free from everything. So here you can see that the leaving of Egypt, or even the killing of the firstborn, has more of a mystical releasing that it has to be, in order to release the Jewish people from everything that's holding them back. This is what he says here. V'katal kol bechor dele'ela v'tata. He killed all the firstborn from above and from below. In this mystical world, where it's not humans being killed, it's more of a releasing process of cutting off everything that is holding back. Thus, the Holy One, blessed be He, did not wish to take them out through an angel, through a saraf, but only through He Himself. ועוד, דהה איו ידע להבחנה ולמינדה קולה ולמשרי אסירין, ולאו אינן ברשותי דשליחה אחרא אלא בידי. Moreover, only He could distinguish and know everything and release the bond. It is not within the authority of any other servant or emissary, but rather in His hand. Because this is something that requires great delicacy. Either we say within humans to know which, first of all, the actual knowing of who's a firstborn and who's not, who to kill and who to keep alive, but even within the firstborns, which one belongs to the Egyptians and which one belongs to the Jews or the Israelites. So only the highest power could have this delicate surgery being done. Now, this is something that I generally say about rabbinical text or Jewish text from the past, is that when we read these texts, we need to try to find the relevance to our days. So if we're talking about something mystical like the Torah in a mystical sense, or we're talking about the Torah as a source of light that we had in the previous passage, then we have, according to how the menorah was built, we have the right side and we have the left side. So we could understand that in the sense of, even within the Torah text, we have texts that are on the right side and texts that are on the left side. And it is our duty when we read these texts that we incorporate it more in the right side of it. But what we have here in this text could be seen as something in a more human sense. The firstborn being the inner layers that we have within the human soul. Whether we're talking about other people or we're talking about ourselves, it takes a very high level of delicacy and really cutting through the layers of human nature, not to mix up between different parts of ourselves or different parts of other people. Right? So if we see all humans as in one part or one being, then we have within the one human, the one being, we have layers of firstborn Egyptians, which we want to kill. And then we have the firstborn of Israelites, which is representing the positive powers, which we want to keep. And we have to be careful with ourselves and with others that when we kill something, when we criticize something, when we try to fix something within ourselves or within others, that we don't target the whole being as a one, but that we surgically go through it and understand the differences in between them. And that's what he's saying in the end here, that God said that he himself came to Egypt to take the Israelites out and did not send a servant, did not send an angel, did not send a saraf, because he had to, only the highest being, the most pure of intentions, could maneuver in between these different kinds of firstborn and only take out the wrong ones and keep the right ones. But that's my interpretation of it. תא חזה, בההוא לילה דבא קודשא בריחו לקטלה כל אינון בחורי, כמה דאיתמר בשעתה דרמש ליליה, אטו מזמרין לזמרה קמי, אמר לאון, לאו עידן הוא דהה שירתה אחרה, מזמרין בני באר. Come and behold. On the night that the Holy One, blessed be he, wanted to slaughter all the firstborn, as we have learned, the singers came to sing for him when night fell. The Holy One, blessed be he, told them that the time was not opportune to sing any song, since the inhabitants of the earth were singing another song. At midnight, בשעת דתפליג ליליה, התער רוח צפון וקודשא בריחי כדין עבד נוקמין, וישראל עבדין שירתה בקול רם, וכדין עבד לון בני חורין קולה ומלכין עילאי, וכל מה שריין כולהו, הבו צייתין להון לקהלהון לישראל, בתר דהתגזרו רשימו לבתיהון מההוא דמה ומדמה דפיסחה בתלת רשמין על המשקוף על שתי המזוזות. At midnight, the north wind was stirring, and the Holy One, blessed be he, was wreaking vengeance for Israel. Israel were singing their song with loud voices, and at that moment he made them free from everyone. The supernal angels and all the highest camps together were listening to the voices of Israel after they were circumcised and marked their houses with that blood and the blood of the Pesach lamb with 3 marks on the door, right? On the top of the door and on both sides of the door. Now, what's interesting here is here it says, so we have this in rabbinical literature as well, that that the angels wanted to sing praise, and God said, "Maaseh yadai tvuim bayam v'atem omrim shira." The work of my hands are being sunk in the ocean, and you are trying to sing praise. But here it says a different reason. Here it says that the reason why he shut up the angels was that the people on earth are singing a different song now. Maitama ha ukmua begin the iu reshima kadisha umechabla kad iu nafik vechame hahu dama da'avar hashim alahu pitcha chayes alayhu Yisrael. Hadao dechsiv ufasach Adonai al petach. What is the reason? What is the reason that we're talking about that the Israelites marked their doorsteps with blood? It has already been explained. It is because it is a holy mark, and the angel of destruction had mercy upon Israel when he saw the blood that is marked on the doors. As it is written, Hashem will pass over the door. Hacha it leistakla ikich kuchabrichu ate vekatel ba'ara leMitzrayim velo shliach acha. Reshima da alpitcha lama v'hu kol galei kamei v'tu mahu velo yiten hamashchit velo yashchit ba'olei. We must look closely here. If the Holy One, blessed be He, and no other messenger came and slew in the land of Egypt, what is the purpose of this mark over the door opening, since all is revealed to Him? This is a general theological question. Why, if God could see everything and He knows who lives where, why does He need a physical mark on the door with blood to know that this is a house of Israelites? In addition, what is the meaning of velo yiten hamashchit, and will not allow the destroyer, which means it was someone else? It should have said, and will not destroy, and God will not destroy. Ela vadai hachi hu dichtiv Adonai hika kol bechor. It is most certainly so as it is written, and Hashem smote all the firstborn. V'Adonai hu uvedino, and God indicates Him and His courthouse. Ve'hahu be'edina hacha ishtakach uvechola ba'e la'achaza ovata begin le'ish tezava taha ki gavna da al gabei madbecha begin de la ishtakach mechablo. So here it says, when we're talking about Adonai, when we're talking about God, He's coming with a presence, with His whole Beit Din. Courtyard would be the closest translation. So he's not. God is not coming alone. He's coming with people with Him, with messengers with Him. That courthouse is present here. Therefore, it says the destroyer. It is always imperative to show a deed below in order to awaken a corresponding one above to be saved. Because of that, it was necessary to place the blood over the door and the two sides to arouse more mercy for them above. Similar to that are the offerings on the altar, on the Mizbeach. This is in order that the destroyer shall not come there. So, this is something that we have also very often in Kabbalistic text, that we have certain actions that we have to take on this world in order to awaken positive powers from above. So although God himself came to Egypt to make sure that only the Egyptian firstborns are killed, we on this world still had to do something to awaken that mercy to be saved. And the act we had to do on this world, in a physical sense, is the putting the blood on the doorsteps. Not as something that God needs to see where the Israelites are living, but this is something that we need for ourselves in order to awaken the higher power of mercy. Hai be'ovada uvezimna dela itzterich hai kigon rosh hashana di'iu yom dedina umareon delishna bisha kaimen alehu diYisrael ba'ainan milin tzlotin uva'utin uve'inan la'achaza ovada kama de'ukimna. This is by means of a deed when it is not needed. For example, on Rosh Hashanah, which is the Day of Judgment, which those of wicked tongues stand ready. So those of wicked tongues, we're talking about heavenly beings, right? We're not talking about the humans. Stand ready to denounce Israel. It is not sufficient to give mere offerings. Speech is required, that is, prayers and petitions. It is necessary to demonstrate deeds as we have explained. So, when the situation is more sensitive, we need both. We need deeds and we need prayers in addition to that. Because that is already a more sensitive time, so we need some positive actions and prayers to overcome the more sensitive times. And we learned with that, these must be demonstrated. It is with the shofar, in order to invoke another shofar. וענן מפיקין בהוא קלה רחמי ודינה כחדה, קולה קדקה יהות. We produce through the sound of this shofar mercy and judgment together, all is required. This is just like the highest shofar that emitted a sound which is the inclusion of judgment and mercy. ולעטרה רחמי כעזלנן, ולתברה מריון דינה, דלה ישלטון בהיומה, וכד רחמי מתארין, כולהו פוצינין אילאין נהרין מהגיסה ומהגיסה, כדן באור פני מלך חיים. To awaken mercy, we awaken with the blowing of the shofar and break down the prosecutors so that they shall have no dominion on that day. When mercy is awakened, all the upper luminaries illuminate from this side and from that side, meaning from the right and from the left. Then in the light of the king's countenance is life. So we're making a connection here to, first of all, actions, right? We said in the previous passage, the reason why the Israelites in Egypt had to put blood on their doorsteps, although God himself came to Egypt to rescue them, and God knows where the Israelites live and where the Egyptians live. It is required from us to awaken something higher. And then he goes one step further and says, in certain times, in certain more delicate times, where there is actively negative powers coming against us, then we need actions plus prayers. But this is something that we could see in our lives as well. Not only something, spiritual with powers between angels, that many times we need to do something physically in order to awaken our deeper feelings and thoughts, the deeper senses that we have in us. Yeah. We could, of course, pray home, but if we come to the synagogue, we did the action of coming to the synagogue. We put on a talit, and we stand with other people. We have automatically a higher sense of prayer, a higher sense of consciousness that we have. And when we did those actions, some people, in order to pray, put on tefillin. While praying with tefillin, although it's a very technical act of wrapping something around your hand or putting something in your head, it awakens something in us that allows us to connect to the text or to the prayer much stronger. Right? We all know this on Rosh Hashanah, yeah? On Rosh Hashanah, we all pray. We're standing in the synagogue, we're praying. And then we hear the voice of the shofar. The voice of the shofar has this extra awakening effect on us. It has something that brings our inner feelings and our inner thoughts to a higher level. Right? Why do we when we go to vacation, right? We go somewhere else. We change our environment. Sometimes it's even enough if we go to a different house in the same city for vacation. This changing of environments and the action of going from one place to another, of doing something in order to feel something, is something that I'm sure we could all relate to. Yeah, if we now that we're all at home and in Zoom, and if we take a shower and we dress nicely and sit in front of a computer for a business meeting, we automatically feel more present and part of what's supposed to be happening. And this is something that we have throughout the mystical text. The things that we do on this world have the power to awaken the spiritual powers from the above world. We have time for one more part. תחזי בשעתה דכהנא התכוון לעדלקה בוצינין לטאטה והווה קריב כתורת בוסמין בהוא שעתה כדין בוצינין אילאין נהרין והתכתר קולה כחדה וחדו וחדוותה השתכח בכולהון עלמין. Let me see where we are. Oh, we went quite far actually today. We're now reading where it's 8. וחדו וחדוותה דהשתכח בחולון עלמין, הדא עוד הכתיב שם נוקטורת ישמח לב, ועל דא בעלותך את הנרות. Come and behold, the priest intended to light the lamps below and brought the offering of spiced incense. Right, we know in the Mishkan and then later in the temple, there were many priestly duties that had to be done daily. But besides from the sacrifices, there were 2 duties that had to be done every day: lighting the menorah and the sacrifice of, let's say, spices. Or it's funny that in the Torah we have kach lecha samim. The word samim in modern Hebrew actually means drugs. But we have a long list in the Torah what kind of ingredients this. I think it would be most comparable to what we have in what they have in the Catholic churches, the Weihrauch, this smoke offering of some things burning. So while at the time when the priest was lighting the candles down here on earth and bringing the offerings of the samim, of the I don't know what I see here. Here it's translated with spiced incense. These things that were burnt. During that moment, the upper candles are shining. Butzinin ilaim naharim. The upper candles are shining, and everything connects together. Ve'itkitar kola kechada. Happiness and gladness prevail in all the worlds. As it is written, ointment and perfume rejoice the heart. Therefore it is written, when you bring up or light up the candles. So he's going back now to the beginning of bringing up the candles. So the power of bringing up the candles is not only lighting the candle and the fire goes up from the candle, but it's also something that connects to a higher power and unites everything, all the spiritual powers in heaven, in all worlds. That story. רבי אלעזר ורבי יוסי ורבי יצחק הבו אזלי באורך פגעו בעינון טורי קרדו עד דהבו אזלי. Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yitzchak were going along their way. They reached those mountains of darkness while traveling. Zakaf eno Rabbi Elazar. V'chamei inun tama'ei. V'avo chashochan. V'dachalan b'dechilu. Rabbi Elazar raised his eyes and saw those lofty mountains, and they were dark and awesome and frightful. Amar Rabbi Elazar li'inun chavraya, ilu av hacha lav hava dachilna, aval kivan da'anan telata umile doraita benenu tina hacha delo yishtakach. Rabbi Elazar said to his friends, if my father was here, we're talking about Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, right? If my father was here, I would not be frightened. Yet since we are three and are speaking of Torah among us, no judgment will prevail here. This is, of course, one of the parts that we have in the Zohar that kind of gives us an indication that whoever wrote this text Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai wouldn't be writing a text that his son said, if my father was still alive, or if my father was with us. I'm just going to read a short text that's here in the introduction to the story. Rabbi Elazar tells Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yitzchak that every word of the Torah has secrets. Even though it may be telling a simple story, the Torah demonstrates the highest matters and the utmost secrets. He uses the story of the landing of the ark on Mount Ararat as an example, saying that it is to teach us about a universal truth. Chazal says that God would not have limited himself to just writing down what various people like Esav and Hagar and Lavan and Bil'am said. If he had, it would not be called the Torah of truth, as it is. Every individual word comes to designate the highest things. We learn that, and the ark rested, as it says in the verse, and the ark rested refers to the time when judgment hangs upon the world and judgments prevail. The time when God sits on the throne of justice to put the world on trial. That throne is only ready during the 7th month, during which is the day of judgment. Rabbi Elazar says that Ararat is derived from the Hebrew word for cursed. Arur, Ararat. Arur means cursed, Ararat. Alluding to the adversaries of judgment. On that day, the children of Israel sent up their prayers and blow the shofar, so that God reverses justice to mercy. It is therefore required that whoever blows the shofar should be familiar with the deeper secrets of the matters. That is our shiur for today.